I believe that relationships are spiritual assignments, that when you come together because your incomplete parts match the other person's incomplete parts, and together you think you'll be whole, when that is really the opposite, that you will be either challenged to become whole on your own because of the triggers that the other person offers you, gifts you with, or you will be too afraid and walk away.
Life is all about relationships. Lovers, family, body, or money. How satisfied you are can be completely explained by how you relate to things around you. This is Sophie Jaffe, and together with my husband, Dr. Adi Jaffe, we are here to explore and teach you how to maximize your relationships and achieve a happier life. Let's get ignited.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Ignited Relationships Podcast. I'm Adi Jaffe.
And I'm Sophie Jaffe.
And we're here today with the one and only Gabby Bernstein as our interview. I'm so excited for this one. I think the only interview we've done with somebody in the closet. Have we ever done anybody else?
I took it a different direction.
Yeah, I got it. I don't think that pun unintended. No, there's no, well, I'll leave that open for you guys. You guys can wait and see what happens. I want to let you guys get into it really quickly. We have a couple of quick little announcements here in a second, but I want to start out with our review of the week. So drum roll, please. All right. This one from The White Bread. I guess you shouldn't come over to our house because we have gluten-free bread at our house, but Real Raw Goodness. I love your podcast. Both the recovery episodes and the relationship episodes get me thinking and growing in so many new ways. I've been in recovery for close to 7 years, and I love hearing your perspective on finding the thing that makes you happy. I wasn't truly happy until I found yoga, meditation, movement, getting outside, and getting out of my own way. I got sober in AA, and I felt like a lot of people judged me once I stopped going to meetings, but honestly, I'm happier now than I was in the rooms. I look forward to your new podcast every week. Thank you for being real and raw, Katie.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Katie.
Love that.
Yeah, and this review has a little bit to do with what we talk about today. I always try to pick reviews that are relevant to the conversation, and you'll see why as you listen. And also, honestly, I tell you guys this every once in a while, but I definitely catch a lot of flack for what I do. So when somebody shares that they've had a similar experience and maybe even were inspired by what they've heard with us, it is a blessing. So, Katie, don't forget, DM us, send us an email. Let us know that this is you, and we'll send you our amazing care package.
I want to share a quote that Gabby Bernstein, I think she shared it on her Instagram, but the quote is, "I let other people's success mirror back to me what I am ready to receive." I like that so much. Just in order to really receive the things you want in life, to really truly manifest the life that you desire, you have to be able to truly love, support, be a cheerleader for those in your sphere, those above you, those below you. When you see someone who feels like they're triggering you, they're challenging you to grow in some capacity. Yeah. So looking under that, when I think to myself like, she bugs me or he bugs me when he does that, or like it feels like he's being this or that, I have to really look to myself and figure out what it is that's triggering me, what's bugging me, and then do the work. And then once I get through that layer and do my own work, then I can accept, love, and truly support that person and be happy for them when they have beautiful things happen to them, when they live the life of their dreams. The minute that you can truly feel happy for even your greatest enemy, for their wins, especially the people in your sphere and in your community, but like for everyone that crosses your path, that's when you're going to get the life that you love. When you really, and you're the only one that knows. You can fake it, but not for the universe. The universe will know when you're faking it. Yeah,
and I love the idea that other people's success shows you what's possible and what's available to you. You know, I know you and I have gone through this a lot. The couples that we connected with after the last sort of massive, oh my God, we're never going to recover from this sort of discovery, were the mirror. We looked at, our friends, I don't want to name them, but we looked at our friends and said, they got there.
Yeah.
Therefore, we might be able to. And we've heard the same thing from other couples. And that's in the relationship, psychology, spiritual realm. But the exact same thing is available in every area of life. And I think that's really important to understand because so many people, I think jealousy is really just a sign of feeling inadequate yourself.
Exactly. It's all about you.
That.
It's not about the other person. Like when I have a feeling that comes up because someone brushes me the wrong way or something they do or say feels funny, it's about me. It's not about them.
Yeah.
And so it's always our job to do the work to uncover that. Because if you just ignore it, then you're ignoring parts of yourself that have work to do.
Yeah. And it's so interesting how you can hate something or dislike something or be rubbed the wrong way by somebody for so long, and then your perspective switches, and all of a sudden you start appreciating, loving, understanding why that part of them plays a role in your life.
Well, also just knowing that we're all flawed human beings that have quirks and uniqueness, and that's what makes us special. And, anyone that I've actually gotten close to, there is that moment, like that barrier that you cross when you start to just accept them fully and appreciate them fully for who they are. It's when you and I first started dating, like there were things that made you and were quirky and were different and felt different because I didn't know you that well. But they're beautiful aspects that make you unique. And now I love them and appreciate them. And I might make fun of them, but like, it's because I love you.
Like my dad jokes that you love.
Yeah, so many little things like that. Like it annoyed me in the beginning because it wasn't familiar. But there's nothing wrong with having dad jokes. It's cute and innocent and sweet and playful. And for someone also who has the history you have, to then pull out a dad joke is funny. Like you've been to jail and yet when I met you, you have dad jokes.
The cheesiest humor.
The cheesiest humor. Like that's so cute. But
I'm very punny, everybody. Really, really punny.
And I think that I appreciate that so much. And it took me turning the corner of like, why is it that I'm so turned off by this type of humor? Oh, it's because I'm used to this other kind of humor. So it just feels different and new and unfamiliar. There's nothing wrong with it. And now I laugh at it and I think it's funny and I think it's cute. But it was the work I had to do within myself. It had nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
And that's generally the way it is. And we have to own our own stuff. We have to own our own work. We have to show up every single day and keep doing it.
Yeah. And if the law of attraction or, Gabby's latest book is Super Attractor. If you think about it, the things you pay attention to, the things you focus on, the energy you bring to your life is the energy that's going to come back at you because it's what you get surrounded by. So if you're constantly walking around wishing badly on other people and thinking, oh, I can't believe she made it, I wish she fails tomorrow, your brain is always in this negative space, always looking for opportunities to fail for other people and for yourself. That's going to suck. It's going to lead you down the path you don't want to. I think I've talked about it before. I've almost completely stopped listening to music that puts me in those places because I don't want that energy in me. I love the artists. I love the musicians. I love the people who are making it. Not going to let that into my space so much.
I never understood that. And I'm still that way. I'm so specific with my energy and
Sophie will be working upstairs sometimes, guys, and I walk up and Krishna Das or one of those kinds of people are playing. I literally feel like I'm going to take a nap standing up. And I joke with you all the time. And this is how individual this version of things is. You tell me always, this is the thing that centers me. This is the thing that brings that energy to me. For me, it literally puts me to sleep in some ways. Mm-hmm. And I'm a pretty kind of high energy sort of kind of person.
Yeah, we're very different.
So very different. I think the reason I'm saying this is it's up to you to find the things that are going to deliver the energy you want.
Right.
Just pay attention. It's the energy you want, not the energy you're used to. Those are not the same thing.
Yeah, or they're both important.
Yeah.
Like for me, my baseline is so relaxed and I'm so I have energy, but I have no anxiety. Like my normal is just like I don't have a lot of thoughts.
Yeah, I have no anxiety either, guys.
Adi is very high strung, and it is a work in progress. And I think, for me personally, there are so many things thrown at me throughout the day that having really gentle, calm music allows me to keep that even keel about energy.
Yeah.
And that is what I want to create, is just a flowing, easy breezy day. I don't need to be high energy. I'm going to get everything done. I trust that I will. And one thing that Gabby Bernstein, she obviously didn't, this isn't her words, but she's kind of coined it, is the universe has your back. I think that might have actually been one of her books. And that was the one thing that I've said since I started reading the 4 Agreements when I was 15 years old. I always said the universe has your back because I wasn't religious, and I knew that I had a relationship with the universe. And that's where the work comes in. The more that you focus on that relationship within yourself, and the more that you focus on where your holes are, where are you leaking energy, where are you putting your love, all that kind of stuff, that being aware is such a gift.
Yeah.
And this connection with something higher and bigger is so important to tap into.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I used to be cynical and think that the universe will stomp on you at every opportunity. And I kind of got the life that you get.
When you think that.
When you got stomped on.
When you believe that. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I also wanted to note that this comes out soon, right?
This comes out, guys. Sophie is starting something amazing. Tell them.
I have been working with my manager, Erin. I know a lot of you follow me on Instagram. I do a lot of sponsorships and, under the label of being an influencer. Obviously, I was a lot of things before I was that, but because of being the founder of Philosophy and a mom of 3 and having my own superfood company,
and a hustler.
And a hard ass freaking worker. I am also an influencer, and I really want to share my secrets with all of you, anyone that's interested. So if you are maybe a beginner influencer, maybe you haven't even gotten started yet, maybe you're someone who gets a lot of free stuff and you want to transition to making money. Maybe you're already making a little bit of money, but you're not quite at the point of getting a manager, and you want to kind of figure out, get some templates. How do I talk to brands? How do I ask for money? How much should I be asking for? And really just how to bring authenticity and genuine energy behind it, which is my thing, is I don't want it to feel like an ad. I want it to feel personal. And it's me telling the story. So if you're interested, our course is called The Influencer Secrets. It's theinfluencersecrets.com. Please sign up, join us.
By the time this comes out, by the way, we're in the 3rd day of really the only week to sign up for this initial group, because this initial group is literally going to get you and your manager sitting there for like 2 months, once a week, answering questions and helping people individually.
Yeah.
So by the time you guys get this.
Yep. 8 weeks of Erin and I with you live. That will never happen again. We're just doing this course one time live. So sign up now, theinfluencersecrets.com, if you want to join us in this live course. It starts really soon and it's for 8 weeks. So if you're interested, send to a friend that might be interested, and always send me an email, sophiejaffe@gmail.com, if you have any questions about anything that I ever share on here.
Absolutely. Go do it. This is a once in a lifetime chance to connect with Sophie on this level. Love you all so much. See you on the flip side. Gabby Bernstein is coming your way.
Yay. This episode of the Ignited podcast is brought to you by Philosophy Superfoods. The Philosophy offers cleanses and other nutritional products that are unlike any of the other supplements and detoxification programs on the market. Why? Because they actually nourish the body with whole, live, nutrient-rich foods instead of depriving you and leaving you hungry. Have you ever tried a cleanse only to find out that you can't make it through a whole day because you're starving? Ever try a superfood shake that made you nauseous because it was so disgusting you'd rather not eat? The Philosophy fix all that with a simple set of offerings that load up your body with nutrients while actually tasting good. Makes sense, right? Each of the Philosophy superfood and protein blends is vegan, raw, gluten-free, and has absolutely no filler ingredients. With over 15,000 satisfied customers, including some of the world's biggest celebrities like George Clooney, Gerard Butler, Lea Michele, and over 10 years of experience, this is the best stuff you can get. To buy some or find out more info, go to our website, thephilosophy.com.
All right, everybody, we are back for an amazing, amazing chat with the one and only Gabby Bernstein. Hey, Gabby, how you doing?
Great, guys. So good to be with you.
Yeah.
Yay.
Thank you so much for joining us. So much to talk about. New book. What's it like to be consistently hugged by Oprah? Parenting, relationships, spirituality, recovery. I feel like technically this could be a Joe Rogan 2.5 hour episode, but we're not going to do that because we don't do 2.5 hour episodes.
Not yet.
No.
Yeah. Welcome.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
So beautiful to have you. So great to have you on. I always like to read up on people's lives outside of what everybody knows about them beforehand. And so you studied theater.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I want to ask, you speak a lot publicly. Did you know when you were doing theater that you would end up and would want to make it your living to be on stages talking in front of people versus kind of the more traditional theater work?
No, but I did know when I was getting a BFA in theater that I had no interest in being an actress. I was a terrible actor. I just was a bad actress. Because I think, anyone who has a career as a motivational speaker, I think that hopefully they understand that the greatest speakers are the most authentic people, the people that just tell the truth, that drop in, can just be real. That's what works. I didn't get at the time that acting was the same thing. I didn't get that. I thought that acting was acting, right? Air quotes, acting. And so I did a lot of acting. I think getting a BFA at 17, 18 years old is kind of like in theater is like kind of insane because you don't know anything about yourself. So how can you tap into that? I mean, it's not that you shouldn't begin then. Of course you should. But I think now I would be an excellent actress. I would be I would be such a I would just nail that because I would just bring myself to it, which I think is the, I don't mean to sound so conceited, but I've gotten really good at being real. And so I think that if I were able to have understood that then, I'm glad I didn't because my theater career might have been something different. And I'm glad it wasn't because it wasn't what I was meant to do.
Totally. Yeah. Our kids do a lot of acting. Sophie has done some. I've nodded at a McDonald's commercial, but that's literally the extent of my acting. But you said something that I think is really true and speaks then to the career you have created, which is I always used to say with my kids, you have to stop being self-conscious and just drop in and just have fun and be willing to be silly and be willing to cry if it's emotional and just get in touch with the actual experience instead of trying to pretend to be the thing that you think people want you to be.
That's right. Yeah.
Which is the same thing in life.
That's right. Yeah. I always say that what's most sexy about us is our authentic truth. So if you show up as you, it doesn't matter how you are, but if you show up as you, then you're solid. It's all going to work out. Even if you are a little awkward and weird, if you are grounded in that awkward weirdness, then people will resonate. It's when we try to be anyone else that we start to feel resistance because we don't feel aligned with the way that the energy that we're putting out. And that's picked up by others. And that's the ripple effect of insecurity. So I believe that if we just all showed up as ourselves, it would be a lot easier.
Yeah. And then it also makes it a lot easier because there's less pressure. Like you're not having to fit into some mold. You're just being you. It's funny because it's very disarming to show up authentically. Like I'll talk to people, random strangers, and I'll just be like, wow, it looks like yesterday I was in a coffee shop and I'm like, it looks like you're writing a manuscript. I'm a writer, you know what I mean? And people are just like, one, you've kind of broken the fourth wall, but two, it's just landing in with genuine conversation, I think can be very alarming, but also disarming because people can start to see, okay, this person's in their grounded place that allows me to be there too. Yes. So it's a fun way to think about interaction. Yeah, I love that.
So let's jump in. I mean, you've always been spiritually connected. You talk about literally back from your childhood, and it was your mom who would take you.
Yeah, my mom took me to visit ashrams and had me named by her guru and taught me how to meditate and she was on a spiritual quest she still is. And So she gifted me that opening, that introduction, so that I could make it my own.
Mm.
But your life didn't always look like this.
No.
so even in the middle of all that, and it's interesting. I mean, we share at least the age at which we turned the corner from. For me, it was really heavy drug use. I don't know what you were into. I wasn't really.
I'm a recovering cocaine addict.
So for you, it was cocaine. Yeah. So I was addicted to meth. That was the one that really took me down. But it was also right around the same age, 25, 26.
Yes, I got sober at 25. Yeah.
It was the time for me when it turned. And my story is a little bit different because I'm not 100% sober now, but I always find it really interesting to talk about that moment of transformation because while the work often takes time, I say it took me 2 years to feel like I was a normal human being again after I started shifting out of that old dark life. But often for me at least, and for a lot of people that have hundreds and thousands of people I've worked with by now, there's this moment of recognition, like where your perspective on everything you've done up to that point changes. Was there something like that for you?
There were many moments like that. There have been many moments like that for me. There probably will be one this afternoon when I get on my call with my therapist after this. Like, I think that I have been on a very, very devoted journey of unraveling the dissociated state that I was in for probably the majority of my life. So unraveling the fight or flight, unraveling the immobilization, unraveling the reasons that we run. So yeah, I have a lot of aha moments, particularly right now, because my spiritual faith and my recovery, when I say recovery, not necessarily my addiction recovery, but my personal growth recovery has sped up so rapidly recently, which is unbelievable. And I have become a new person in this past year in particular, but it's been 40 years leading up to this point. So here I am now.
Do you feel like, just because I don't know anything about your past history with any struggles of addiction or anything, I know your work now and the books you've written, and I've seen you speak live at Wildest in Hollywood, and I love your work, and it definitely resonates as someone who considers herself a master manifester and someone who comes from that place and has since I was little. But I don't know. You said about escaping. Do you feel like your drug use was a means to escape, or was it a means to numb, or was it everything, or what were you escaping from? Not knowing yourself?
Yeah, no, I actually didn't know what I was running from. And in fact, when I got clean, I was like, why did I use? I mean, I thought that I had such a good upbringing and a great life. But what I came to realize in 2016 was I had a dream where I remembered being sexually abused as a child. And then days later I confirmed that recollection of the memory. So I had dissociated from the memory for at the time, maybe 30 years or whatever it was. And the second thing I said the first thing I said to my therapist was like, I think I'm going to die. Because when you remember a trauma, you literally feel like you're going to die. And the second thing I said is, now I know why I used.
Is this, you mentioned, or I read somewhere that you do some EMDR now. Is this where that really came in for you? Was around the trauma?
Yeah. The EMDR has been one of the biggest tools I've used for trauma healing, somatic experiencing. I'm getting trained in SE. I'm currently training myself and then applying for the SE Peter Levine training. And I have also used EFT, and I have used all kinds of spiritual practices that have helped serve me, and CBT and therapy, talk therapy, and Gestalt, and all of it. Yeah.
Here's the thing I love for everybody listening about incredible. I don't know. For a lot of people, you serve as a guru. So I'll say that. I'll say the word.
Let's take it back though, because let me just say one thing. Can I curse on this show?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So never call me your guru, because I have just been in this past year under a fucking bulldozer of quote unquote, air quotes again, gurus who have just turned out to be fucking sexual predators. And, and it's, that's not, don't worry, I will never be that. I promise you all. But I I'm writing a new book, and the final chapter, I wrote the book originally based on these 5 sutras of this teacher. And they were all my methods, all my words. So but the sutras, the ideas were of this teacher. And just most recently, it's come out that he was a rapist and a horrific person. And so I felt the real backlash of what it means to have a teacher. And I wasn't one of these people that was, yes, I had a picture of him on my altar and, just really but I wasn't really that hung up with him. I was more because he wasn't alive when I experienced the teachings. There was another teacher I had though, and they're all going to remain nameless because I don't want to, I don't even want to give them voice, but I will. But another one that I deeply, deeply believed in, and it changed, and the work changed my life. But it turned out that he was a very, very, very bad person. And so, I have to currently rewrite and reread audiobooks and published books. I have to, take back all these quotes and it's not even just the hassle of what I have to go through, but I have to wake up in the middle of the night in sweat because I'm, thinking about these women and the stories that they've personally called me to share with me. Oh. So, I just don't think it's safe to make anyone your guru. So the final chapter of this book 100%. That I'm writing is called You Are the Guru. And I opened the chapter by saying that I was weeks away from submitting the book and I had to rewrite the book because I, had based it on these 5 sutras. Now, the beauty of it all is that I didn't have to rewrite anything. I just had to change the message, make the message my own, because every single word in that book was mine. So, the inspired idea was there and I just made it my own inspired idea. And so, but the main message of that chapter is just, don't call, I say it over and over again in the chapter. Do not call me your guru. I am a teacher and in some cases a mentor, but really I just see myself as a raconteur. I am just here to share stories that inspire. I'm a storyteller.
What I wanted to say was, gurus are these people we put on pedestals, and when people like you share deeply personal stories like these revelations that came up for you and then the devastating impact that they had, it makes it okay for everybody who listens to get honest and truthful about their own experience. Because in the world we live in now, and it's probably been true of celebrity for a long time, but we get so personal into the people's lives that we look up to nowadays that we feel like we really know them. And we forget that, unfortunately, most people, or maybe it's not unfortunately, but most people only show the good sides of their life. And so you don't get these types of messages oftentimes from people you look up to. And so when you share about, oh my God, it wasn't until 4 years ago and 10, 11, 12 years into my woke state that I realized I'd been hiding and running away from this devastating thing in my past. It makes it okay for everybody to look into what it is that they might be running from.
Oh yeah, I call it you go first. So I say, I'm on that stage in front of thousands of people or on this podcast with thousands of listeners. And I say, I was sexually abused. We'll get into the other things. I'm a cocaine addict and in recovery for 14 and a half years, right? I've experienced mental illness. Yes. And I say yes. And then you can say, oh, me too. And you can, it is that you go first. And I don't recommend people go first until they're grounded in their own recovery. Because if you start speaking about your traumas without having been in a place of grounded healing, then you're going to trigger people. So it's a responsibility to tell the truth. Both sides, right? It's a responsibility that we tell the truth out of respect if we're going to be there to inspire others. But it's also a big responsibility to hold that, to be the person that's saying, I said that, because just voicing the truth, just being a voice box for shame can be very activating and triggering for people. So that's why I've made the commitment to go get trained in somatic experiencing, and why I've been trained in EFT, and why I have made the commitment to be able to offer the tools that can help people regulate their nervous system when they are activated. Because frankly, guys, we're just going to get more and more activated as the days go on. Can't be alive right now without being activated.
Exactly.
Definitely.
I have a question. So for someone who I've just started reading your book, I read it last night. You were actually in my dreams. Like, it was trippy. We were in outer space, I think. We were like, I think just because it was just like the whole experience of reading it last night and getting into it and seeing myself in the words. And but we were like, it was black. I think we were like in the galaxy and we were just there together and you just kept showing up. It was really cool.
Cool.
So thanks for that. Nice hanging out. But one of the things that I try to give my, people, and that I think you give so many people, is giving them the power to be empowered, to feel that, that strength and the magic within themselves, to feel the resonance of the entire universe within them and that power. So it feels dissonant to me that, like, did you go through like the AA model for getting clean? And like, do you subscribe to that? Because you said I'm in recovery from cocaine, but like, you're no longer even, like, you're a whole different human being. For me, I like get hung up in that. Like, it doesn't seem like it's aligned because it seems like you're giving away your power to something. Does that make sense?
Being in a 12-step program, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Well, it's a really tricky thing because one of the traditions is to not talk about it and to in the public, because if you say, oh, okay, I'm in a 12-step program, and then God forbid you go out, it makes it look like it doesn't work. So I prefer to say that I'm in recovery and that there is a recovery program that saved my life. And obviously you can all read between the lines, and I have a really hard time not wanting to be that person that shouts from the rooftops, but I want to respect the traditions, even though I kind of just didn't. But more importantly, because when you know something works, you want to speak on behalf of it. But I think that everyone has to trust that they have a higher power that's leading them to what's going to work for them. I trust that even the quote unquote gurus who have been falling like just flies, the work that whatever it was that they were doing did have an impact on my life. So it's not to say I don't turn my back on the teachings. I turn my back on the teacher.
That's such a powerful notion for me by itself, because I think oftentimes, and you mentioned the place we are in the culture right now, we kind of throw the baby out with the bathwater. And so if you don't like somebody, then everything they've done gets written off.
Yeah.
If you don't like a system, Sophie just talked about 12-step, and my recovery system is different. And the work that I've done in my life to get to where I am now is different. And I'm such a big supporter of just trying to always find the value in what works in anything that's out there. I literally equate it to like a toolkit,
Yeah, exactly.
You take a carpenter. We're sitting in a house right now. Somebody built it. You can take the world's best carpenter, and if all you give them in their hand is a hammer, or all you give them is a saw, or all you give them is a screwdriver,
Right.
They can't build a house.
Right.
And so I feel like my job, and this is what I love about doing this podcast and exposing. I mean, I don't think we have to expose our listeners to you, but having these deep conversations with people is what people uncover in the conversation are tools that they can then go apply in their own lives to build whatever home they want to build.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you hear my son waking up from
I was like,
nap.
is that my daughter? Is that your?
Exactly. I wanted to make sure you weren't freaking out that it was your child. No, my son, he is very well cared for downstairs, and he is waking up from his own nap, as he does beautifully.
Ours is going down for a nap. So I was like, did she just get home? And is she upset? Is her teeth turning?
Nap time.
Yeah, 3 hours different.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Should we jump to, I feel like I mentioned this to you before, Gabby, but you're doing more work on relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you feel the same way that I do, but certainly my life would not be what it is now had I not discovered somebody like Sophie, who I've now shared my life with for 15 years, with some very distinct disruptions in the middle of that, but for 15 years, but somebody who could ground me in ways that I didn't come from a background like you. I didn't have built-in spirituality. I don't know. It's the ultimate yin yang sort of relationship. And I wonder, because I haven't heard you talk much about your own relationship. What role in the growth that you had, your relationship, and now we can get into parenting and things like that, have played?
My husband is my greatest teacher. I believe that relationships are spiritual assignments, that when you come together because your incomplete parts match the other person's incomplete parts, and together you think you'll be whole, when that is really the opposite, that you will be either challenged to become whole on your own because of the triggers that the other person offers you, gifts you with, or you will be too afraid and walk away. So I've had the privilege of growing alongside a man who has every step of the way been willing to grow with me, and we are in a real good place, and we have a really grounded, very, 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 what's the best word? I would say supportive and grounded and elevated relationship, because today we are the better whole versions of ourselves. We continue to be every day. So now we can enjoy what it means to live as whole humans together. And we run our business together. He gave me life, truly, because he became the CEO of our company 6 years ago. And just, I recently, and then hired 1 million people and got me out of the way. And I recently changed our org chart to say that I am not the CEO. I am the untethered force of light. That's my title.
I love that.
And now we gotta, it's, here's what I love so much about that. The fact, you mentioned a lot of people look for the other person to fill their gaps. And that can always be dangerous. That's a place where you can create codependency, right? And create these places where you literally feel as if you can't survive without the other person's filling in those voids for you. Whereas such a quick shift in perspective, but the ability to say, oh, you are showing me the places where I want to grow. It's now my responsibility to go do the work to grow in those places.
Right.
Yeah. You can't point the finger at anybody other than yourself.
Yeah.
And not from a place of blame, but you have to say, okay, what is it that I got to clean up?
Yeah. And I love, was it The Course of Miracles or was it Marianne Williamson? One of the two, said that we are here for maximum learning opportunity, which seems to parallel what you said. I mean, I love that. And it's such a, it's such a fresh perspective for someone who is out there dating or struggling to find their person. My best friend last week went on a date, was so excited. She's 34 years old. She just wants to have children. She's just so excited. She goes on this date. He's great. He checks all the boxes. And then he doesn't seem interested. And she's like, I'm really into him. He's great. He's Jewish. He's this, he's that. Da, da, da. And then the night before Valentine's Day, he rejects her. In her interpretation, it's a rejection. The weekend goes on. She's still kind of trying to push it. She can feel it's not happening. And then he finally is just like, look, it's not a good fit. And thank goodness that he could see she wasn't his person. What a gift, instead of playing games for 6 months. And if we can look at opportunities in life, especially your person, if you are to have a partner in this life, if you're going to have a partner, let's look at it from that perspective of maximum learning opportunities, maximum growth. How can I grow to be the best version, the most evolved version of who I am? And instead of just not being whole, looking for someone to fill the gaps for me so that I feel fulfilled from this,
Yeah, I think you can do that even when you're not in a relationship too, because if you're dating or you're challenged by your friendships or your family relationships, you can consistently look at those relationships as a mirror reflecting back to you what you still need to heal, the unhealed parts of your shadow, the wounds that you may still be reacting to.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things you talk about a good bit, and I don't know if this factors into your relationship and parenting, but I really want to hear about it because there are things that quote, I'm putting this in air quotes, get in the way of living the best life that you want sometimes, or people feel like they do. And you talk about this concept of daily design for starting your day off, right?
Yeah.
I know in my life, having a morning ritual, having something I can depend on that starts my day habitually has been incredibly useful. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I love rituals because my days are always different. So I have grounding moments. And one of them that I put in the book, Super Attractor, that's a really great way to set yourself up to win and make sure you're in alignment so that you can be in that energy of what it means to be a super attractor, which is an energy of joy and inspiration and freedom, is to design your day. And what I ask you to do would be to wake up every day and ask yourself, who do I want to be today? How do I want to feel today? What do I want to give today? And what do I want to receive today? Just asking yourself those 4 questions gives you this chance to claim the energy that you want to begin the day with. So if I ask myself those questions before I walk into my son's room and change his diaper, or before my husband wakes up, I'm actually much more likely to show up with a really nice attitude, or even if I didn't sleep well the night before, be in a good space, or whatever it is, because I've made it, I set an intention. I think the key to our successes is to be intentional, to be clear about what it is that we want to create, commit to that, stay aligned with that.
That's great.
In all things. In all things.
All areas of life.
I'm going through a thing in my business right now. I have a superfood company, and I realized that I never wrote a business plan because I was like, I don't need a business. A business plan is an intention.
Yes.
And now that I had this aha moment, I'm like, of course it's not as successful as it could be. I didn't have an intention. I have an intention in everything else in my life, and the things that I have intentions that I follow through on, those are successful. This one thing doesn't feel quote unquote successful because I never told the universe what I wanted. I never decided what I wanted. So they're just following off all the random signals that I'm sending. It's too random. It's spread too thin. How could the universe know what it is that I'm trying to send if I don't set it? It makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can we talk for a second actually about the idea of bringing business and spirituality even together? I know you've been doing more and more courses and more offerings for your audience. And obviously you speak and people pay to come see you speak. I know I get pushback regularly, and I'm like, the audience I'm exposed to is much smaller. So I can just imagine. I feel like people believe that somehow these two are separate entities. Right. So people will say things like, well, why, how dare you, how can you charge people for this? If you're here to make people's lives better, how can you charge people? I don't know if you get things like that, but I don't
really get it. I don't really get it once in a while, but really, I think that it's about you. I'm not speaking to you, the collective. When we become really grounded in our worth, no one questions it. So the other thing also is I've been very mindful. I do so much for free because I'm a teacher, and my intention isn't to be an influencer. My intention is to be a teacher. So I don't need to show you the cutest post of my, all I do my cute outfits, but I don't need to brag about it on my Instagram. And instead I would rather show you a video of what it is that I need to teach you or that I feel called to share. So, being with that intention of being a teacher, I'm giving a lot of content away for free. I have free blogs every week. I have countless videos that I share on social. I just posted a 14-minute meditation on my Instagram today. So I'm constantly just giving. So when people find the work, they can be very fulfilled and guided and allow me to be their teacher for the price of $0.
Yeah.
Then there's a book that's, $15, whatever, on Amazon. Or then there's a more expensive training that by no means does anybody question, because if it's a more expensive training, it's because I believe it's valued at that. And in fact, I think it's offensive to myself to undervalue it.
Yeah.
And
no, I totally agree. I love what you said, though. It's about
knowing your worth.
It's about when you start knowing your worth.
No one questions it. Nobody questions it.
That's
You know,
really
has
good.
nobody ever asked me what my background is? Like, do you have a therapy background or anything? No one ever asks me. Never. Never. I mean, maybe like 5 times in my entire 15-year career.
That's interesting. Yeah. Have you ever found yourself in the work that you do? I mean, you talked about these gurus and maybe some of that was in there, but have you ever found yourself coming up against a wall where you're challenging convention, you're telling people something that, that brings up, I mean, obviously a lot of our work brings up discomfort, but where you come up against convention and there's pushback, or has it always felt pretty seamless?
You know, I think that to date, I think I've been I haven't really been challenged necessarily. I think that there have been mistakes along the way, of course. I think sharing too openly about things. I think when I started sharing about my trauma, I didn't realize how triggering that would be for other people. And so knowing that now, I've gotten training on how to speak on behalf of shame without activating people. And in fact, even with that training, you still will, right? But I have therapists in the room and whatever I can do to hold the space and not be silent about the shame, because that doesn't help people either, but to know the difference. And so I think that there's that. I think that there's been things that in the pursuit of being authentic, I have been maybe fast and loose with getting the message out and not understanding how that might land. And even if one person in the room of 2,000 is activated, that's my fault, right? So I got to kind of know. I can't be responsible for everybody's experience, but if it's something that I could have done differently, then that's something I have to own. And you know, I think that we're living now in a time where we have to be very outspoken about what we know is right, because if not, I can't sleep at night. You know, when this stuff was going on about this teacher that I received a text message from a friend, and the second I saw it, I was like, I know what she's about to tell me is that, you know, she was abused by this guy. And so I heard that story and heard more stories, and the people were coming to me directly to tell me these stories. And so I just knew, I'm like, I'm not waiting for anybody else to come out about this. I'm coming out right the fuck now to give other women the voice to speak up and tell their stories. And so I just came right out and said, I'm with the women, and more of this is going to come out. And I did this way before any of the teachers in that community even spoke up. And I think that I held their hand to the fire, you know, and I am also, I think that the hardest thing for me about this type of stuff is just to wonder, you know, how much do they know? Yeah.
It's hard to take on that. I mean, to take on that responsibility, right?
I think that you have to be, I think right now we have to speak for what's right. You know, we're coming up on an election. Listen, like, I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat, Donald Trump isn't right. It's not a safe place for us right now. So I have no interest in debating other people's political views, and I don't want to shame anyone for what they believe. But I do know that we have to find a leader that's not going to harm us.
But just because you brought up, what do you do? You know, when he got elected, one of the first things that a lot of people around me, because we're pretty liberal in general, were saying, you know, about this other half of the country and how they must be fill in the blank, all these judgments of those people. And I said, look, I don't know that I'm comfortable thinking even that there are like 120 million people who are unable to think for themselves, who just made this decision. There's got to be, in my opinion, there's got to be something else going on. And so we talked, maybe this is kind of full circle for this interview. We talked in the beginning about running away and the concept of numbing yourself out and running away, and, you know, addictive behavior in general, like addiction and using, et cetera, as being a way of putting your head in the sand. How do we talk about the fact that we're getting in society to this place where people are willing to overlook almost anything as long as they feel like they're like somebody's speaking for them? Wow, I don't even know.
I think you just answered it. I think that it's people want to feel heard, and they want to feel part of something, and they want to feel recognized. And I think that the Democratic Party hasn't done the best job of making everyone feel like they're along for the ride. even though that is the intention in my belief, but I don't know if the message was clear. And so that's why I really love somebody like Mayor Pete, and I'm behind him all the way. And, you know, I wouldn't really even have political conversations, but now I think we have to.
We have to.
Yeah, I have to. I love Mayor Pete. I think he's the guy, but I don't know if it'll be him, but that would be my choice. I remember once when Trump was elected, I did a talk the next day, and it really got dark in the room because there was Trump supporters, and I wrote about this in The Universe Has Your Back, and there were Trump supporters, and there were obviously a lot of Democrats in the room. Everybody was just so polarized, and it turned into like a really ugly conversation, and people walked out and complained and told the event host that like I was so shameful because I let this happen. And that night I got a call randomly from Marianne Williamson. She was at dinner with a girlfriend of mine, and I was like, oh my God, you guys, here, listen to what happened. All these people are hating me because of this. And Marianne goes, if they don't hate you because of something that you're saying, then you're not doing anything. Then you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. So I think there you go. I think you just answered that question I was asking earlier.
Yeah.
Sometimes you come up in society against these walls, and it's like we have this decision of, oh fuck, okay, am I gonna like take out the pickaxe and try to break this wall down, or am I gonna do what everybody else does, which is either turn around and go the other way or look for a way around it or something like that? And I don't know if it's just as I'm getting older, I feel like I can understand these 65, 70-year-old, 75-year-old men and women I've seen my whole life kind of growing up in Israel who just don't give a fuck. They're going to tell you like it is because they've seen too much, and they're not walking past this wall.
They're not holding back.
You know, I came from Israel too, so obviously a lot of the family that I had grew up in the Holocaust, and I mean, it's like insanity, and they're not putting up with shit. It's just not happening. Oh
yeah, and I think that's a collective thing that's happening right now. I think people are being just, there's a collective trauma. And it's either going to wake you up or it's going to shut you down. And if it wakes you up, I think you will end up like your Israeli family and say, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm going to say what I want when I want.
Yeah.
But I don't think we can judge people for their beliefs. I don't judge anyone who's a Trump supporter. I don't. I totally have love and respect and admiration for anyone who is looking for the feeling of being connected and the feeling of being recognized. I don't have any judgment at all. I do pray that we can have a safer leader that will keep our country safe and our people safe and our children safe, and not create environments where children are locked up. And don't get me started with the rest of it.
Yeah. And I do hope that we get enough people in enough rooms to have enough conversations about what is it that we're seeing differently about the world. And almost like what you mentioned about a duality relationship, right? Like a partner. We're all partners in this world. We are all partners together. And somehow there's a fracture, there's a chasm in our perception of reality right now. And I think, to me, and maybe it's my training in psychology, maybe it's the work I do, I don't know where that comes from, but to me, I want more conversations, not more running away to the other side.
Oh, yeah. I think that it's happening. I think people are having much larger conversations these days. I think that people are not afraid to speak up. We've been all given a voice in a big megaphone called the internet. So we have a voice now. I think that there is an open dialogue happening, but it's very polarizing, and that's a conflict. And there's a lot of judgment, and that's a conflict. So, I started writing my book, Judgment Detox, the day that Trump was elected.
Beautiful. I went into a deep, dark depression. So glad you did something positive.
Okay. Like I was saying before, I feel like with all the topics that are on hand, we could talk for hours. But I think we can jump into our 5 questions. So we ask every guest who comes on the podcast the same 5 questions. People tell us this is one of their favorite parts.
Yeah.
And so it's time for you to be literally in the hot seat right now. You ready?
It's hot in here, yes.
I know. All right. Number 1, what's the best advice you've ever received?
It's advice that I got from a meditation. So it's from my inner wisdom. It's not my own advice, but I received it. Measure your success based on how much fun you're having.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome.
It's beautiful. What about your proudest moment to date?
Oh, birthing my son. Fuck yeah. I was like, I am a warrior. I am Superwoman. I had a really amazing experience.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Beautiful.
To flip that on its head, what's been one of your hardest moments to date?
Postpartum depression.
We didn't talk about that. And that is one of the things that I was thinking. So there's such a
parallel.
There's such a parallel because you didn't have it much. And I feel like this last pregnancy was the one time that it happened. We have 3 kids, and first 2 kids, I don't feel like you had it.
Yeah.
Trust me, you would know if you had it.
No, I didn't. I didn't with them. I did. With
baby.
Noah, I did. But with Kai and Leo, I didn't. I think I was so young and naive. I was 26 and 28 when I had Kai and Leo. So it was just different. My body was different. My awareness was different. I was just like, woohoo! Like, get this little friend to come with me everywhere. Like, it was just different. Now I'm just so grounded in who I am. And I know, it was just hard. Like, even the pregnancy was a lot harder because energetically, I knew how much she would take up, how much space she was about to take up in our family and in myself. And I think I just wasn't able, like, my bullshit meter, like, I just wasn't able to, like, I cut out relationships, and that was painful. And I felt lonely at times, but I knew I couldn't be around certain people, and that there was a certain level of magic I had to bring her into. And, like, those relationships weren't serving it. Those behaviors weren't serving it. And it's uncomfortable when you make space for, the beauty. It's uncomfortable.
Definitely. But I feel like there was also a period of months where you just, it was like this weight,
100%,
like a cloud. And my wife doesn't have clouds around her most of the time. So it was very obvious, the shift.
Yeah. I'm just saying it was postpartum depression and it was the pregnancy. So it was a long time of feeling not myself.
Yeah. Postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety, PPA is also a form of postpartum depression, are very, very dangerous because a lot of women think, well, I'm just anxious because I'm a mom or I'm hormonal, but a lot of times, and particularly in the wellness world, it can be very dangerous because we will resist the traditional approach for healing and in many cases get to a really dark place. And that was my story. I just was trying to fix my insomnia with melatonin, and I was trying to fix my anxiety with ashwagandha, ultimately to, say on Mother's Day that I wanted to kill myself. So, it was, I have a very deep understanding for mental illness and what that means. And I had to take a medicated path in order to live. And I have a deep, deep, deep level of compassion and understanding for what it means to be at that bottom and what it means to really, really, really suffer from mental illness. And I'm grateful for that. I'm really grateful for that because now I'm not part of the stigma. I'm part of the solution. Yeah. And and there is a place for psychiatric help when you need it.
When we had Dr. Gordon on about social level trauma. And medicine is good at acute care. When you have an emergency, modern medicine is really good at treating it.
Like when Noah was 3 months old and she had that thing on her hand, like we had no choice but to pump her with IVs. We're not going to put colloidal silver on her finger. We're just not. Like, it's, there's like you said, there's a time and a place, and there's a reason for Western medicine and not to be taken lightly.
Yeah. God is in all of it.
Yeah. Again, part of the
special agents. Special agents.
Part of the toolkit.
Exactly.
So this leads perfectly to the next piece, especially having dealt with addiction, especially having dealt with mental illness. I assume you talked about how much you love rituals. You care a lot about self-care.
Yeah.
What are your non-negotiable self-care rituals that you put in place to make sure you can show up as the best version of yourself and help so many people?
I haven't had sugar in 8 years, maybe 9 now. I have been sober for 14 and a half years. So I don't partake in any form of drug or alcohol. I have a devotional meditation practice, a transcendental meditation practice that's 20 minutes twice a day. That is my anchor. I have a very serious sleep ritual because the postpartum experience I had was 4 months of insomnia and 6 months of recovering from insomnia. So I'm very, very devoted to sleep hygiene and have to really consciously be winding down and have rules around that. And another non-negotiable, I guess I would say, is it's not like what I do eat, it's what I don't eat, really, right? So I don't eat sugar, I don't eat dairy, I don't eat gluten, and I cook for myself so that I know what I'm eating is kind and good for me. And then the biggest non-negotiable is just to be a kind person in the world and to make people feel good.
I love it.
Love that.
I love it.
This podcast is called Ignited. What ignites you?
Teaching.
Yeah. You get to do a lot of it.
Totally. Never ends.
That's beautiful.
I'm constantly ignited.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Thank you for teaching us and our people here today. And thank you for all the work that you do
in the world.
I can't believe you're about to write another book. Like you just had a book come out 4 months ago, 4 months ago, literally, right? And now you're putting out another one. I'm 1 in and I can't fathom writing 7. So all the more power to you. Love the messaging, love your work. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, guys.
See you all next week. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the Ignited podcast. We were so happy to have you along for this ride. Please go and subscribe to this. Leave us a review. We love hearing from you. And if you want more, don't forget to go to ignited.com, where all the podcast episodes are available with show notes and so many of the little details and links from each one of these interviews. And you can look at all the future events that we have going on, all the things that make Ignited so special, even beyond this recording. Again, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next week.